you're building a custom motorcycle, generally speaking, you're cutting and chopping and changing things to make it look cool, and therefore, if you have any storage space, you would have definitely lost it. Sure, you can get some saddlebags and that kind of nature and bolt it to the bike, but let's be honest, you're not watching this video to learn how to bolt saddlebags to a bike. And one of the things that really frustrates me is when I'm going for a ride and having my pockets all loaded up. It's probably a little bit more for me because I've got to carry a spare battery and a short little tripod for doing filming when I'm out. But generally speaking, it's keys, wallet, and phone have to go with me everywhere. They don't actually need to be on me, they need to be with me. So I've come up with a cool retro looking solution that won't take away from the aesthetics of the bike, using that bad boy right there. So I spoke to the team at Heron Forbes and ended up deciding on a VB300. This is a vertical metal bandsaw and it weighs about 225 kilos. It's going to be absolutely perfect for what I need. So I've been using this little setup for quite some time, and it's an okay setup, but it's actually not even designed to be used like this. It's actually designed to be used as a portaband bandsaw, handheld. This table you have to buy separately from a different company to get this to work like this, but it is very, very limited. And what I mean by that is the width of the blade, and also the depth here. So if you're cutting something and it's any deeper than that, you have to pretty much do it by hand another way because it just will not do it. And also this width limits you to how much you can cut purely because it will want to keep going straight. You can't really do anything curvy. And even if you're trying to do something curvy, you're going to run into problems anyway because you're going to hit this. And just like everything that comes into my garage, it gets a set of wheels, which will also bring it up to a better height for me to work at because I'm quite tall. So built into the unit itself, it has a set of shears, grinder, and also a welder to weld your blade back together if you do end up snapping it. Sometimes you actually want to snap the blade deliberately if you have a hole and you want to cut the inside out, and having variable speed gives me the ability to now cut low carbon, high carbon, stainless steel, aluminium, brass, no matter what it is. I can even cut timber, but you got to crank the speed up as much as you can and just take it slow so you don't burn the timber because it's not really a timber bandsaw. So timber bandsaws generally have more aggressive teeth and they also go a lot faster, and that's also a quicker way of cutting your fingers off if you're not careful. So as you can see, the blade width is less than half of the other one, giving me the ability now to do all of those curved cuts, which is what I do a lot of. And I can even get a smaller blade in this if I wanted to, which I can't do with the other machine. So you can weld yours out of whatever material you want, but I'm going to be using aluminium for mine for two reasons. The first one is because it's super light, and the other reason is because I'm going to get heaps of penetration in all of the welds and then grind the welds off to get that rounded retro look. So as you know, this was the first one that I started with, but to be honest with you, this actually was the first one that I started with that I didn't actually show on video, and it was just way too large, wasn't the shape that I wanted, so I scrapped that one. And then I moved to this one, which I actually made, and I was going to start cutting it down a bit more, reshape it. But even if I reshape this one, I still think that I can come up with a better design than this. So let's have a go. Another advantage with this bandsaw is I'm able to tilt the table in every direction, giving me the ability now to do angled cuts, which I didn't have before. Just something to mention while I'm cleaning this is if you're welding a box completely up, make sure you drill out a couple of like pressure holes to let the air out. You don't know what can happen. You can have problems trying to weld it as well because the air will want to escape while you're welding. So it turns out you can weld brass to aluminium with silica bronze rods. That's pretty bad, but it does stick. It was popping and carrying on when I was trying to do it. This is the aluminium rod there, so I think I'm going to stick with that. I don't have the proper rods, that's all I have, so I'm just going to use what I have because I just need to put the hinges on the door and the box. So what I'm using here is a board that I've pre-cut. It's called a zero clearance board. It's just designed so that when I'm cutting something small, I won't have to worry about the little pieces falling down in the gap. So I pretty much finished this off late last night, and then I came out here this morning and picked it up, and as you can see, it actually is broken. And it's quite strange because it looked like a really good weld, and as you can see closely there, the actual parent metal has been ripped away, which means that this didn't attach very well at all, even though the penetration was there. So I only used aluminium rods, and I'm trying to get hold of some aluminium bronze rods, which seem to be extremely hard to get. I've called 4 suppliers and nobody has any. I'm kind of at a loss at the moment. I don't know if I should start again, get a different hinge, or what I should do. So unfortunately, I was unable to find anybody that actually sells these filler rods. However, I was able to find a company that actually does repairs, who has some in stock. I contacted them and asked them if I could come up and grab a couple, and they were happy with that. But before I do that, I want to go and see if I can find some aluminium hinges, because that would be way easier. I've already tried having a look at the hardware store and they had none, but I'm going to go to a different place and see if I can find any, and I don't like my chances because anything that's going to be aluminium needs to be a lot bigger, and I don't really want a big hinge. So as I suspected, there was no aluminium hinges to be found. But on the positive side, I was able to pick up the welding rods that I needed to get this job done. I've never welded with this stuff, and to be totally honest with you, I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be strong enough for what we need, but I guess time will tell. A quick and easy way to prevent rust is to heat up the steel with a torch and then quench it in oil. This pin had a coating on it, but I had to take it off by cutting it and then rounding off the top so it had no sharp edges, so I decided to quench it just to prevent any rust from forming inside there and stopping that pin from sliding up and down. I was just fitting the bracket to the box and you won't believe what just happened. The hinge snapped off after all that work. I'm not really happy with this weld anyway, and this is once again pulled off the parent metal, so I'm going to come up with a plan C, I guess. We're going to get rid of all this, start again. So what I decided to do here is beef up the size of the hinge, and I'm going to rivet one side and then araldite glue the other side, and that'll be as strong as I can possibly get it. So had I known the first couple of attempts of attaching a hinge was not going to work, I definitely would have come up with my own hinge system, but I have a lot of confidence in this larger hinge and the araldite. I think it's going to be perfect. So this little block here was on the inside, it was tacked there, and I wanted to make it a little bit stronger, so I went to put a little bit more weld on it, but when I didn't clamp this, and it ended up falling out, as you can see. Lining this up was a bit of a pain, to be honest with you, so now that it's out, it's given me a bit of time to think about it, and if worst case scenario, something happens and it gets a bit of grime or dirt in this pin and it gets stuck and then the magnet can't lift it up, you won't be able to get in the box, which if you got your phone and wallet and stuff in there, it might be a bad thing. So I'm going to beef up this little internal piece with something a little bit larger, and I'm going to put screws in the side of it so that worst case scenario, you can still get into the box. I must admit, I'm pretty damn happy with how these things turned out in the end. Don't ever be afraid to have a go. If it doesn't work out the way you wanted, it's not finished yet, so keep going. Always keep that in mind. So if you want to go and check out that bandsaw, I'll leave a link in the description below, and if you've enjoyed this video, you're going to love this playlist that I put together for you. So go and check that out as well.